Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm Councilwoman Odette Ramos. I'm the chair of the Sisson Street Task Force. We apologize for some of the technical issues. If you all are getting texts about people not being able to get in, just keep trying that link. It is working intermittently. So, please continue to try to get people in. The way that we're going to work this out today is that we are going to first make sure we've got a quorum of the members, which we do. Then we are going to go over our findings as a committee after the last 6 months of work so that you can get a sense of what our paper says so far and what are the options that we are thinking about. Task force members, some of us will be presenting, some people will add for clarity and other things. And then we will also then take public testimony. We're going to start with online testimony, and then we will take people here. So that is our agenda at the moment. I just appreciate everybody spending time with us this evening. We are in the Planning Commission, 8th floor, for the technology to try to get as much input as possible. So the first thing I want to do is go through the attendance of the members. Kristen Sinclair, just say here. Members, if you're going to speak, you need to push the button so that the thing is green. Go ahead.
Here.
John is not here. Marianne is online. Samantha Horn, Vice Chair.
I'm here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
Kevin McCartney from Charles Village.
Here.
Keandra is not here yet. Councilman, do we think she's coming? Councilman Torrance. She might be online. I don't know. Keandra's online. So we have two members that are online. Okay, thank you. I am here, Deputy Director Robinson from DPW.
Here.
Sandy Sparks.
Here.
Councilman Torrance.
Present.
And Jed Weeks.
Here.
Great. So we have all of our members except for one. This meeting is being recorded, so it can be posted on the website as well. And so just some housekeeping. Again, I just explained the agenda. We're going to go over our process and our findings and the three options that we want public feedback on, and then hear from the public. So we're going to start. We have here on the board our paper. We don't have slides, but we're going to go over it. And so Dana will help us with just getting to the right place. So Kristen is going to start, right? Yes, okay. With the first part of our paper is organized into three parts. One is about the intro and also about the current situation. And let me just say, I just want to thank DPW and all the members for spending so much time on this. This wasn't just about Sisson Street. This is really about the sanitation infrastructure writ large in our city. So we have a lot in here to discuss and look forward to hearing from residents. So we're just going to take a few minutes to do that. We need the paper back on the screen. Okay, it looks like people are able to get in, thank God.
Sorry, we had
Okay, Kristen, you want to take the first part? So the first part of the paper of our findings was about the current situation. What exactly is happening, not just with Sisson, but with our sanitation writ large, and also with the other sanitation drop-off centers, recycling centers, transfer stations, we're going to call this a drop-off center for today. And then Samantha will talk about what DPW already has as future plans for the sites. And then I'll go into the 3 options that we're considering. Task force members can add to that. And then we look forward to hearing from the public. So Kristen, put on your microphone and take it away. And if you want us to move the thing, you just got to let them know.
All right. Awesome. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm going to go through the current situation of everything. Did we want to go through the intro at all in terms of initial forming? Okay. So originally, kind of when this was formed, the mayor created the task force because there was, and I'm going to kind of just briefly summarize it a little bit so we can get through to the current situation. But it was really formed out of the outcry of the moving of the location down to Falls Road. When the residents came, when the bill was presented, and residents came and spoke up about it, and it created a lot of friction of what we wanted to do with Sisson Street in terms of how it was moving. But the task force was formed, and over the last, I don't know, like 8, 9, 10 months, give or take, we've been really kind of diving into a lot of the details of what goes on with our sanitation system, how each location actually works and functions, and what are the needs of the community that for all of the different sanitation needs for recycling of waste and the transfer stations and haulers and all of that jazz. So going through the report in terms of the current situation, what we've really been going through is there is a complex set of residential drop-off centers. So we have different transfer stations, and we have also the landfill and incinerator, and we also have different services that are provided at each location. There is a chart in Appendix B, if you want to go to Appendix B.
Scroll to.
Don't know what page it's on. Page 10.
Yep. That's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So this kind of goes through what is going on with each station, as well as the current services provided for them of what you can drop off at them. When a user goes and drops off recycling or waste or anything, they can go 2 times per day, 5 times a week. We also are working and learning from DPW about the collection of data of who gathers, who drops off waste from different locations around the city and which station that they go to. The one thing about Sisson Street that is a big difference between like the Northwest Transfer Station is at Sisson Street, most U-Hauls, if you have a U-Haul or any kind of rental truck or any truck, that gets turned away because it's considered a hauler. It is a residential only transfer station, so it's taking in residential refuse as a whole. And then at Sisson Street itself, it is the most popular of the centers. So it has double the usage rate of that of Bowley's Lane, for example. So in Appendix C, page 11, sorry. You can see here this usage. So up here, I'm just like reading, but the usage data was collected for the first time during this process. So I think we started collecting in October?
Towards the end of
December, end of December, okay. And then mapped out kind of the numbers of sites of visits from who was coming and how they were using the site. So you'll see here in this column, there's all the different zip codes that visited, and then it's kind of mapped over with red dots on the map of the city of how much those different locations were using it. So one thing that's interesting here is in Sisson Street, yes, it's got a big red dot, but you also have larger red dots throughout the city that's from farther away and closer to some of the other locations. operations. So there's reasons, and we were curious about, okay, why is that? What could that be? So like this data was really helpful to learn and collect, and it's something that we're kind of always going to be able to have because you guys are continuing to collect it and keep learning from it. So this was a fantastic visual and learning that the DBW provided for us to kind of have more information on that. The other thing with Sisson Street is that it's the only place and location that has hazardous waste drop-off, and also it is the only location that has a ramp. None of the other locations at this moment have ramps like Sisson Street does, where you can drive up and then pull up to the side and actually dump any of your refuse in those containers. And the hazardous waste drop-off is 5 weekends a year. And there's other stuff that Sisson takes as well, with electronics, mattresses, textiles, compost, oyster shells, and more. So there are also only 4 bays of trash drop-offs and 4 bays for recycling drop-off. One of the biggest things that we discovered is the Sisson Street crew is amazing. They do so much for everybody that comes there. They're extremely helpful. They really know their stuff, and they have that operating in organized chaos. And it's just amazing. Everybody that works there is so fantastic. It's also centrally located and also the hub for any of the pitch-in programs that community organizations come when they reserve dumpsters for residential cleanup, to place bulk trash there. This has been a massive success. And then there's also a requirement for residents that are involved with cleaning up the neighborhood. Neighborhood dumpsters and trucks are located on the north side of the facility. But Sisson Street is one of the smallest drop-off centers with 1.7 acres of usable space, but there's 4 acres on site. So you can only use 1.7 of it, even though there's 4 acres to the whole footprint. In addition to staff, facilities don't necessarily meet the needs of the excellent crew. So there was recent updates made to there with the modular recently placed on the site for locker rooms. There's still main building needs and significant repair, if not a total tear down. And it's very busy on the weekends, which can create a lot of queuing and issues outside of the station itself. I also want to mention, too, that it is also the hub for everything. It is like the brain for the operations of things. So that was another thing that we got to see there. Let me see, where am I? So there is also a development plan in place from Remington. The Remington Neighborhood Plan calls for the land where the Sisson resides as part of a significant mixed-use redevelopment. And this plan has been in place since 2011. Regarding conversations relocating have been ongoing since at least 2019. There were 2 RFP processes that the Baltimore Development Corporation had, but those were also, the one bid that was there was sealed and unable to be shared with the task force. With the bill that was introduced, it was allowing the city to sell the property. That is currently on hold, and the BDC has pulled the RFP or canceled it as of now. So that is Sisson Street. Going into Bowleys Lane and Rebird, those facilities offer residential drop-off as well. And they're homes for the sanitation crews and the trucks that go and collect trash around the neighborhood. Right now, Rebird is closed for renovations for the next 3 years. And then Bowleys Lane is the only other residential drop-off center besides Sisson. However, there's no ramps to help residents easily access the trash bins, and residents toss materials over the side or in the back when it's open. They collect electronics, textiles, composting, and mattresses. They also do oil as well, like engine oil. They have a whole system there for that. Bowleys Lane is 82 acres. Before Rebird was closed for renovations in May, the site provided the same services as Bowleys Lane. The Northwest Transfer Station is one of the 3 facilities where sanitation crews take the waste that they collect from curbside collection, and also that's where all the small haulers go. So when a small hauler goes to Sisson Street and is turned away, they're recommended to go to the Northwest Transfer Station. It's considered a substantial transfer station because eventually all the waste that's there as well also goes to the landfill. In addition, solid waste services outside of residential curbside pickup, bulk trash, picked up by appointment, and the wait is usually 3 months. Residents contact 311, they make the appointment, outline the materials they have, and then receive a confirmation and date to put the materials out on the curb. Neighborhood dumpster days are limited to 4 times a year per neighborhood. There has recently been a change that anyone could call to reserve those dumpsters, and this is something we kind of got more understanding from talking to the staff rather than the community association. This has caused a lot of confusion with as the community associations generally have the capacity to organize the volunteers and already have their systems where the dumpsters are located each time. This current change that we have where anyone can call and any individual has really made it impossible for some neighborhoods to request dumpsters. So that's kind of the overview of all the things in terms of what the current situations are. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen. Any members of the task force want to add to that at all? Okay, great. Thank you very much for that overview. And for the public, you can see this paper on the Sisson Task Force website, so you can follow along. So Samantha is going to talk about the future plans. I just want to say one last thing I forgot to mention earlier. The task force has taken one vote so far, and that is to eliminate the Falls Road site from contention. So just want to be public about that. We're going to talk about some of the other sites later on. So Samantha, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Samantha Horn. I am the vice chair of this task force, and I represent the Greater Remington Improvement Association. I've been a resident of Remington for 10 years, and I live 2 blocks from the Sisson Street Drop-Off Center. I'll be highlighting the future plans for the citizen drop-off sites as described in our draft report.
DPW.
Yes, with information provided by DPW. Throughout our meetings, DPW has informed us its future plans, not just for the Sisson Street Center, but for the Quarantine Road landfill, Northwest Transfer Station, and improvements at Reedbird and Bowleys Lane. Tonight, I'm going to focus on Reedbird, Bowleys, and Sisson Street, and I ask that you refer to the report for more background information on Quarantine Landfill and Northwest Transfer Station. Starting with Reedbird, they are slated for some major improvements and is already closed for its upcoming construction. The 22-acre site will include drive-up bays similar to the current ramps that we see at Sisson Street. The current plan in Appendix E shows 24 vehicle bays as compared to Sisson's very tight 8. This will include bays for residential trash and recycling of paper, cardboard, cans, bottles, and plastic. Outside of those bays, there will be dedicated recycling bins for textiles, electronics, mattresses, metals, and more. It will accept motor oil and compost drop-off. It will not accept hazardous waste materials. It will also be the home base for the trash and recycling trucks and their crews. However, please note that trash is not dumped at this site. Improvements at Reedbird are expected to take 3 to 4 years and have capital budget allocations in the FY27 budget and beyond. Please note that the task force acknowledges that the Reedbird site is directly across the street from people's homes in Cherry Hill. We request that DPW makes plans for greening and streetscaping of the site. We appreciate that the layout of the site includes the drop-off dumpsters at the back of the site as far from the residences as possible. And you'll see grade-separated Z-wall on that shows the ramp that you drive up, similar to Sisson Street, but I assume much larger. And then on the other side where it says the existing building, that is Reedbird Avenue, and across the street is a row of row homes. Moving on to Bowleys Lane in East Baltimore, it will be the site of a large composting facility and will receive improvements to their residential drop-off facility as well. Construction is slated to begin in the next 2 years, and this full yard is about 82 acres. The plans include drive-up bays similar to the current ramps at Sisson Street, also with space for 24 vehicles, again compared to the 8 at Sisson Street. This will also include residential trash, residential recycling of paper, cardboard, cans, bottles, and plastic. They will also have the dedicated recycling bins for textiles, electronics, mattresses, metals, and more. They will have household hazardous waste drop-off. They have motor oil and compost drop-off. Obviously, the compost facility will be processing compost there. They will also have a separated area for licensed small haulers, which will hopefully divert some of that small hauling traffic from the Northwest Transfer Station. This will also be the home base for trash and recycling trucks and their crews. They do not and will not be dropping waste at this site. This is all in the capital budget. Construction will be completed in phases, beginning with the compost facility and then the drop-off center. And there is capital budget funding all the way through 2032 for these projects. You can see a little bit more of that capital funding in Appendix D. I do recognize that this screen grab doesn't include the years at the top, and so we'll make sure that that gets added for the final version. Moving on to the future state of Sisson Street. DPW and the staff at Sisson Street have spent ample time sharing their current challenges that they face at the site. DPW has made it clear to the task force that they do not have any significant improvement plans for the Sisson Street Center due to its size and layout constraints that cannot be improved upon. They do not have any capital funds in the budget for Sisson Street. Bowley's Lane is about 10 to 15 minutes away from Sisson Street, and Reedbird is 20 to 25, 30 on a bad day, minutes away from Sisson Street. Many Sisson Street users live in zip codes that are closer to Reedbird or Bowley's. Based on that report from December to January, it's about 50% of users. It's very feasible and likely more convenient for these folks to utilize Reedbird or Bowley's, and we feel that with education or support, there's a lot of potential for behavior change. I will pass along the mic to Task Force Chair Councilwoman Ramos to summarize the 3 options that the task force is considering for recommendation.
Thank you so much. Just want to acknowledge there's a typo in the report that we will fix. East and West 28th Street. It's West that we're dealing with. And then also the number of bays. DPW gave us 2 different numbers, but I think the main objective there is that there's going to be more bays at each site. So thank you both for that summary. I appreciate it. So I wanted to just discuss how we ended up doing this. The task force has met roughly 2 times per month since October, roughly, and also had a site visit to Sisson and Bowley's Lane. We did actually go outside of Reedbird, but Reedbird was closed, and got a chance to talk with staff at each one. So I very much appreciate DPW's help with that. We also had a lot of meetings asking more questions of DPW and asked them to start this data collection so that we had more information, and I think it was very helpful for them, so we'll be keeping it going as well. We also evaluated all of the possible sites as alternatives, and so I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I said earlier, our first and only vote that we've taken so far as a task force is to eliminate that Falls Road. So we wanted to at least present to the public 3 options that we could vote on, and wanted to get your opinion, and that's why we're here this evening. We may have some other nuances to discuss for each option, but that will be helpful for the public. So the first option, as you can see, and I'll get out of the way, that's probably why they put the chair over here usually, but I wanted to see everybody. One is to keep Sisson open permanently. Now, one of the things that we wanted to do was if Sisson is open permanently still, we need to move the hazardous household waste days to Bowley's Lane. And the reason to do that is that if you've been to Sisson on a Saturday with hazardous waste, it is chaos. It's organized chaos, however, is what Mr. Bennett says, which I agree. But you also have the queuing, and it provides a dangerous situation. So one of the options is to keep Sisson open, move hazardous waste, which can be moved, according to DPW, fairly soon, while Bowley's is still open during construction. We also recognize that our zero waste goals are extremely important to this work, because obviously we would want to have less waste go to these sites and go to the landfill as well as the incinerator. One thing in the capital budget is that the city is trying hard not to extend the landfill. So we have to continue with our zero waste goals. And so if we're going to keep Sisson open, we actually want to reduce the dependence on Sisson by implementing the zero waste plan, which is to work on a construction and demolition site, which we'll talk about in a second, and also bottles and cans, everything else. But we've got to fast track those initiatives as well. We also want to make sure that if Sisson stays where it is, we're going to have to put capital investment into it because the workers need better sites. The modular is fine, but that brick building there, if you've ever been there, if you've ever been in it, you know that it's like super hot when it's hot, super cold when it's cold, and they need better facilities in addition. Also, we do want to, if it stays open, there should be a targeted campaign to ensure that the users of Sisson that's closer to the other sites utilize those other sites as well. So that's proposal number one. So it's in depth, and it's not just about keeping it open. It's open with some changes that need to be made. Proposal number two is eventually closing Sisson as we have finished the rehabilitation of the Reedbird site, and you heard that what the future plan for the Reedbird site is to have those ramps, to have much more space and better facilities as well. And the time frame would be anywhere between 3 to 4 years, or 3 to 6 years, depending on how long this goes. Because again, Bowley's Lane during construction will still stay open. So if we have Reedbird open as well, and we're reducing dependence on Sisson by continuing to collect the tonnage data, making sure that we're doing better about bulk trash, having more dumpster days in some areas that really need it, as well as continuing with our zero waste goals. So this option is that we've got to make sure that certain metrics are met and that Bowley's Lane and, that Reedbird is completely finished and open as Bowley's Lane then goes under construction. So that is our second option that we'd like your opinion on. And then obviously if we're reducing dependence on Sisson in the second version, it would also be not just for trash, but also recycling. So our zero waste goals are still there. And then it would absolutely need a public relations campaign and a community engagement campaign to make sure that, as again, we're reducing dependence on Sisson and increasing dependence on the other two sites. Remember, Bowley's Lane is going to have a full composting facility, so residents and industry, businesses, universities, whoever can drop off their composting there. It's actually pretty exciting. So proposal number 3 is to relocate Sisson to another site, either temporarily or permanently. And I will tell you that because of the Falls Road situation, there were several criteria that were laid out to us as we looked at various sites. So one of the criteria that the mayor laid out to us was very clear that any new site cannot be in a black neighborhood. Any new site needs to be kind of near Sisson, centrally located. Because of Falls Road, and we actually eliminated a lot of options because of this last piece, the mayor didn't say it, but we decided on this criteria, can't be in a floodplain. And I think that's for obvious reasons. And then DPW was very clear that we need a site that's going to accommodate all of the needs, so that more than 1.7 acres is going to be necessary. So if you can scroll down to Appendix F, we have the list of all of it's at the back of the report, all of the sites that we took a look at. So some of this came to us because DPW had already taken a look at this. This is, just to remind you all, this is not a new conversation. This has been happening for a while. So the 2801 Falls Road, we have already formally eliminated. 400 North Avenue is over by the train, light rail. That was eliminated for lots of reasons. Also, it's privately owned, and Amtrak's definitely not going to let us use it. 25th and Howard and Huntington area is also privately owned, has a lease on the facility, but does meet the criteria of being centrally located. Closed landfill at Monument and Edison Highway. The city owns this, but there's a major exciting announcement coming later on about how exciting that thing is that's going to happen. So we said, no, we can't do that. Camp Small is, as you all know where Camp Small is, because we had the fire there, but it is still going to be there. Camp Small is, but that area is going to be too small for a site. The Salt Dome, it's just too small of an area, especially since as we saw with this storm, they needed all the room that they could get over there at that site. We did look at Fallsway JFX, so underneath the Jones Falls on Fallsway, by that Dunkin' Donuts there on Guilford Avenue. There's that lot there that we also looked at that's not being used, but that is in a floodplain. The Jones Falls comes right under there. So we had to eliminate that. The Wyman Park bridge along the light rail, there's this little ramp that you can see off of the bridge, and that's not going to work. Someone had suggested the old ball fields at Druid Park, that we're not putting a recycling or trash facility in our park. And 401 West 26th Street is going to be redeveloped. So these are the options that DPW had already looked at. We took a second look at them. We also had the members of the public give us some suggestions, and we took a look at those. Obviously, we can take a look at more, but we would have to make sure that the budget is there for any leases, for any private facilities, and we would need to make sure that it has what it takes. So that's where we are there. And then the last piece is some additional recommendations that that the task force had, that we haven't formally voted on, but we certainly want to make sure are taken into consideration. And so that's on, if you can scroll to page, oh, you did, great, okay. So that as Kristen had mentioned before, the dumpster days, really popular in all of our neighborhoods. And there was a change recently that anybody could call 311 and schedule, and then it messed up how all the community associations were doing it, and it got so confusing that some community associations said, no, we're not even going to do this. We're recommending that we go back to the old system, that community associations would call to reserve their 4 quarterly. We have neighborhoods in my district where there's a resident who takes charge of the whole thing, gets the volunteers, that is that person's job, and they take pride in it and make sure that it's run properly. And I think that's true in most of our neighborhoods. So we want to go back to the way that it was. Hazardous waste, we did talk a little bit about hazardous waste is a very important service that we provide. Otherwise, people's basements would just be filled with that stuff. And so we do want to continue to provide that service. And it needs to, the chaos that it causes at Sisson is a challenge. One of our members suggested that it goes back to where it was, which was, I think they did some collection at Poly, which is centrally located as well. That can be considered, but certainly that we could also move it to Bowley's Lane, and that this should happen fairly quickly. That is something that can be something that come out very quickly. The community benefits districts right now utilize Sisson for dropping off the trash that they collect. Midtown just uses it for bulk trash, and Charles Village uses it for basically everything. And so we'd like to make sure that they are provided another location for their materials. I didn't put this in here, but you heard a couple of times that we want to have a very specific and targeted public relations campaign for whatever the decision ends up being, so that residents are very clear about what behavior change might be needed. So we took a little bit more time than that, but I wanted to make sure people knew exactly what was happening here. Task force members, does anybody have any questions or anything to add to our presentation? Councilman?
I just truly have concerns about Rebird. Can you hear me? Perfect. I still have concerns about Rebird because of the location and it still being next to a industrialized black neighborhood. And I see the rationale for it, but coupled with the fact that we are burning medical waste and other waste down there as well, the environmental hazard, and I think that we really have to have a true consideration that we might be compounding more impact on people at the same time. I just want to raise that because I would be lost about saying that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would also like to raise that we said an alternate location would need to be centrally located. Centrally located does not necessarily equal near current Sisson Street location.
Yes, that's correct. So thank you for clarifying. Yep.
And
Councilman?
just one other thing I want to raise up is regarding the dumpster days. When talking about the dumpster days, it started because of concerns we heard from the neighbors, from residents, but also as we spoke to some of the people who administer, they felt as though it was difficult because of the new change. So not only from the people who are, the community side, but also folks administering felt like it was difficult to service the community compared to the previous way.
Yep. So thank you for that. I'll hear from Kristen, and then we're going to have a full discussion, not tonight, but at a next meeting, once we hear from the public. Kristen?
I just wanted to reiterate that one thing that we highlighted in two of the three options is there is a specific timeline and budget for how that gets done. It's not something like if we decide to close Sisson Street or we decide to move it because we find a really good location, it doesn't happen immediately. There's a time frame attached to it so that there's a good way to educate the public, let everybody know what's going on, as well as start to retrain behaviors and move and have alternate solutions so that there's not going to be a situation where we have trash in locations we don't want them.
Yes, there was a discussion around potentially illegal dumping in some of the areas if there's closure, which there was research, which we didn't put in here, which I guess we could, that illegal dumping did not increase along the areas in Reedbird after Reedbird was closed. So we can certainly add to that. Councilman, did you want to add something else?
I would even go further with to Kristen's point. I think that we need to think about policy decisions that we recommend too. So one is reforming our small haulers program. Like, how do we get people into there? And efficiently. And I think that if we're going to do it, I would like to attach the closure of Sisson Street to zero waste and saying that if we meet this metric, then we can start winding down. I think that gets me and people that I represent a goal, but it also establishes accountability for why we should, if it's the public and we recommend to close it, it gives an idea of what does it look like we're putting in place. Because ultimately we have high asthma rates. We have I lived in Remington, I could smell Sisson Street. So I wholeheartedly feel for people who have to deal with it. So I think that if we're going to do this, we have to do it where it attaches to policy goals too, to actually be truthfully thinking about how long term we don't want to add to the landfill that's costing us a lot of money, but also the opportunity to do it. But that's going to require public education. But specifically, like, how do we get small haulers in and out? How, and the other piece is that we're going to have to, if we're going to do dumpster days, we have to overcome the fact that we're not competitive in terms of driver salaries to actually transport the dumpsters.
Right. Yeah, for sure, Councilman. I appreciate that. The zero waste goals are absolutely part of this. One of the things that you'll see in the capital budget is that the city is going to do two things. One is a long haul study to look at what our zero waste goals would look like. We're also starting to invest in a site for construction and demolition, so that we can start to do deconstruction work rather than just demolish everything and take everything to the landfill and to the incinerator. So I'm really excited about that because I have a bill that's coming, but also that we're already starting to make those investments. And we have DPW has also put out an RFI for a reverse bending type of situation if the state bottle bill doesn't pass, so that we would have our own bottle bill type of thing. So the reducing of dependence on Sisson, I think, is perhaps, I agree with you, has to be tied to our zero waste goals. So what we're going to do now is take public testimony. We're going to limit everybody to 2 minutes. I know we're going to lose our tech support in a minute, so I wanted to make sure that we take, if you're online and you want to say something, you need to put your little raise hand function, which is at the bottom right hand of the screen. You need to put that up so that your hand is raised in the system. And I have the timer right here. So do you want to call the first person up?
Great, thanks. The first person is Tim Servey. You've been unmuted. You'll have to unmute on your end as well.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
First, I want to thank the task force for all the hard work that you've done to draft this report. My name is Tim Servey, and I'm a resident of Hamden. I'd like to voice my support for option 2, in which Sisson Street's functions are gradually transferred to other sites. The plan establishes clear metrics to ensure continuity of services, and I'm glad to hear that the task force has determined that doing so is possible with existing capital funds. Option 2 would keep trash further away from our waterways and allow Remington to grow as a neighborhood. It would provide our sanitation workers with better working conditions and provide residents with higher capacity facilities. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. He stayed under a minute. That was the amazing part. Thank you so much for that, Tim. I do want to alert the task force that there is a big, thick pile of paper that is also in front of you. That is written testimony that came to the Sisson email address as of 3 o'clock today. Anybody that has submitted written testimony after that, we will make sure to get to the task force as well. Anybody who is present that doesn't want to testify but wants to send in written testimony, you can utilize the Sisson email address. So I just wanted to point out the lots of trees that we've utilized today for this. So thank you very much. Next.
The next person is Brad R. You've been unmuted.
Can you increase the volume?
Ivor, if you can increase the volume, that'd be great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Great. My name is Brad Rennick, and I'm a resident of Roland Park, and I'm on the call this evening to express my support for a thoughtful relocation of the Sisson Street transfer station and a long-term redevelopment of the current site. You know, I fully recognize the convenience the facility provides for some residents and contractors, but its current location presents challenges for the surrounding community. The site's become an aesthetic burden along a key corridor and contributes to traffic congestion in the area that continues to see increased residential and commercial activity. So, relocating the transfer station to a more appropriate operational setting would allow the city to maintain essential sanitation services while hopefully unlocking the full potential of this highly visible site. The redevelopment of this property could represent a real opportunity to support the continued revitalization of Remington and Hampden, and a thoughtful investment in the location could enhance, neighborhood connectivity, could increase economic activity, and could really contribute to a more vibrant and welcoming gateway between the two growing areas. So, I respectfully encourage leadership to pursue a forward-thinking solution that balances its own operational needs with community development and long-term urban planning goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next.
Next is Melissa. You've been unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. This is obviously like a really challenging issue, and I appreciate all the work you've done. I live in Station North. I volunteer with Friends of the Jones Falls. I came to this issue when the Falls Road site was proposed, not just from an environmental perspective, but also because protecting green spaces has equity and labor implications, like heat island stuff is why our sanitation workers are really struggling in part. So I want to also echo that I think more thought needs to go into how, not just moving Sisson to avoiding moving Sisson to a Black neighborhood. You also should think about how redirecting trash to the existing sites would also increase the burden on Black residents. And if Remington wouldn't be satisfied with like greening around Sisson, I'm not sure why the communities near the other sites would be satisfied with that. It's also not clear to me why traffic wouldn't become a concern down there. Maybe the space is different and it's not, but I just think it's a great start that you have, but that there's some additional thought that needs to be put in from a racial justice perspective. So I do like the idea of tying closure to the zero waste goals as part of that. I'm concerned that the recommendations as they are written now kind of just send back to the mayor the options that he asked the task force to consider to begin with. And while the Falls Road site was, voted out of consideration, it's still the only site where like relocation plans were drawn up.
Wind up, that would be great. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's the only place that really any thought was put, so I'm concerned it would reemerge as a front runner. And I think you need to ask Sisson workers where their preferred site is. So if they have a preference on where they end up, that should be a really big part of the conversation. I believe it's the 25th Street site.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I haven't heard that from the group. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Go ahead next.
Next is Sarah Reichenbach.
Hi there. Thank you. I don't know if I can say this much better than two of the other individuals that spoke earlier, but I am also in favor of option 2 and closure of the dump. I live right on the 500 block of 28th Street, and we've been here for about 10 years. We really enjoy the neighborhood. And, I was on the first meeting that we were able to give testimony. And what just really struck me that I wanted to reiterate to the council and everybody today is that there was a lot of people saying, well, it's been there, so why'd you move there? Or, kind of have to deal with it if we already live here. And I think it's just a lot more complicated than that. And we've seen such great strides being taken to improve this neighborhood. We've seen a huge growth in families and people coming to and staying in our neighborhood. And we're really proud of and happy about that. We talked about the interconnectivity of all the neighborhoods with the bike lane, taking care of our green spaces, doing dumpster days and things like that. So I think it is much bigger. And at the end of the day, if there's a better and higher use for this space with the transfer station that is already having issues and is clearly not big enough, or there's just other concerns that have been raised anyway. If this has been a question since 2011, I think it was mentioned already, and it's been in discussion again since we've lived here, it seems like now is the time, with the attention and the options on the table, to really seriously consider doing something about it, if not just closing it altogether. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next.
The last person who's indicated they wish to speak, so if anybody else wishes to speak, please raise your hand now in the WebEx meeting, is Barbara. You've been unmuted.
Barbara? Barbara, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, you can, if you can't figure out how to unmute yourself, you can put your testimony in the chat and we can share that for you. Nothing.
Okay, Barbara, I'm so sorry that we weren't able to hear from you. Hopefully you can put it in the chat or email us. That would be great. Anybody else that's online?
Yeah. So one more person has raised
Okay.
their hand since I gave the notice. Rolando Maxwell.
Good evening. My name is Rolando Maxwell. I live in Reservoir Hill. I personally oppose the idea of closing Sisson Street. I think is an access for us that are able to access it. And there's other way of improving the area in the sense of, as Melissa says, and I support her testimony and agree with her, that there's other way of dealing with this, as I've seen in New York, in Westchester, where there was an oil tank, and they actually put a barrier, and they built a luxurious condo right off Arsenal train station, facing the Hudson River, and it still have a relevant. People enjoy living there, even though they live next to an oil tank that is being utilized by boats that bring and transport these oil. So Sisson Street is a little different than that, and you can still green up the area, and the neighborhood is still everybody deserve to have a joyful community. So to move this to somewhere else, saying that basically some of the people that support this is saying basically you don't want it in your backyard. You move in here, take it somewhere else, and let them deal with it. The benefit districts basically is in miles away from, a couple of miles away, or a mile or less away from the center. So to remove it where it's so convenient for them to get across the bridge and take care of
Thank
the
you.
sanitation need is
Last couple
not-
thoughts, please. We've got to wrap up. Thank you.
Not a problem, ma'am. Next thing, I want to disagree with
Just real quick, 2 seconds.
with Torrance saying I've tried to go over there. I've never smelled Sisson Street or even seen any rodents running around in Sisson Street as much as I go over there. And
Thank you.
communicate with the people that work there.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks to those online. Anybody else with their hand up? Okay, great. Now we will take public testimony. If someone can hand me the sign-in sheet, please. Oh, you're gonna, I got you. Yep. We have a lot of people signed in, but I'm not sure Oh, everybody's signing. Everybody said that they're going to testify. Okay. So we've got 2 minutes for everyone here who wishes to testify. Okay. So we'll just start at the top and make our way down. I've got the timer right here, and we will get started. Let me just put this on here. Okay, first is Dick Williams.
Everything out
If
there.
you would be at the podium, sir, and there should be a microphone there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the task force, for your volunteer time in deliberating over a wrong-headed idea, that of moving a public trash, recycling, and hazardous waste facility downslope to within yards of the Jones Falls and into the floodplain there. That there has been, for at least 1/2 a year, on the adjacent Falls Road property, a large mountain of uncontained trash delivered by the DPW and illegal dumpers on the DOT-owned site is an actual grievance of environmental insolence that I shall leave aside for the moment. I am Dick Williams, a homeowner in Bolton Hill with a very strong interest in urban conservation, environmental conservation. I spend a fair share of my time tree planting, pruning trees, and removing choking vines from mature tree canopies in the city. I have attended most of the meetings, so I'm well aware of the seriousness brought to the work by each of you through the diligence of the task force chair. Again, thank you. You've come a long way. I well remember the August 11th meeting at the Rec and Parks headquarters, where there was a deeply flawed planning effort on display and box sandwiches to eat. At that meeting, the architects of this idea proposed that Falls Road be closed on the far side and made a loop from Maryland Avenue to service the proposed relocation to Falls Road. The outcry from meeting attendees only became further amplified in the coming days through social media and press accounts. In the subsequent meeting, Chairman Ramos said that email receipts at her office and other counsel against the Falls Road relocation site numbered about 1,000, and that only 2 of those evidenced favor of the plan. Well, I can't recall her words when disclosing that information, but the sense I got was that she was truly impressed by the number of residents taking up the issue and writing their opposition. I was one of them, and I have testified previously. I was gratified when back in November, an official vote was taken of the task force members to remove the proposed Falls Road location from the list of prospective sites that might receive the Sisson Street facility should it be relocated. With one abstention, the vote was unanimous. So the lingering, very large question in my mind is, will Mayor Scott override the collective votes of 1,000 residents and the task force members by further threatening the ecosystem along the lower Jones Falls? I truly hope not.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Really appreciate your dedication to this as well. Peter Morrow. I'm sorry to put a time frame on everybody. I could talk to everybody all day, but I know that we don't want to keep everybody. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your time. My name is Peter Moore. I'm a resident of the 200 block of West 27th Street in Remington. Wanted to express my strong support for the closure of the Sisson Street site. I don't know how aware you all are of the history of the area, but Remington was a quarry town. All that Baltimore nice that all your foundations are built out of largely came from our neighborhood. When the quarries closed, the city turned it into a dump. When the dump got full, they built the first trash incinerator in the city of Baltimore on the Sisson Street site in 1924. So Remington has had to deal with the city's trash for the past 102 years? Can do math. And I think it's about time that we moved it into one of these other great locations that you already have capital improvement plans for. Now, it's been shown that it's not safe for the current employees there. It's not good for the residents around the neighborhood, and we're fortunate that we actually have developments that could go into here. So we could actually have housing instead of trash in one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the city. To turn that down because other neighborhoods have turned down similar developments, we want it in our neighborhood, and here we have an opportunity to do so. I would hate to pass that up. So again, my strong support for closure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your thoughts and for coming in this evening. Winona Engel Pratt.
Hi. Hi. Good evening. Thank you to the members of the task force for your work on this. My name is Winona Engel Pratt. I am the president of the Greater Remington Improvement Association. As president of GRIA, it is impossible for me to represent every opinion in our neighborhood. However, I do my best to represent the majority. The most comprehensive outreach process we have ever conducted, our multi-year Remington Neighborhood Plan process, and then our subsequent neighborhood needs assessment, engaged hundreds of residents. Both of those documents show a strong desire and immediate need for more housing and mixed-use development in our neighborhood. The neighborhood plan identifies the Sisson Street property as a prime candidate for that development. Because of this, I reiterate our position calling for the closure of Sisson Street Center and the prioritization of a sale ordinance that commits any purchaser to a walkable, dense, mixed-income housing and commercial development. Additionally, we in Repington recognize the burden of having this facility in our neighborhood, and we have called for closure, not relocation. Lastly, and just speaking as a resident of Baltimore City, the main thing that I have learned from these task force proceedings is that the current conditions at the Sisson Street Center are uncomfortable and potentially dangerous for the workers, and that there is very limited space at the site, and as your report notes, there is zero capital funding to improve the situation. Therefore, I find it unethical that we as citizens of Baltimore would continue to insist on DPW operating at this site, prioritizing our convenience over worker safety. As a Baltimore citizen, I call for the closure of the Sisson Street site. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay. All right, thank you. Tekla Tesnam. Thank you so much for coming.
Good evening. Thank you, task force members. I am a Baltimore City resident and the owner of the Autobar, a legacy anchor business in the Remington neighborhood since 2002. I support thoughtful growth and investment in the Remington neighborhood. Development brings energy, opportunity, and new life to the Remington community, and I welcome that wholeheartedly. At the same time, removing a heavily used transfer station without a fully operational replacement in plan and in place creates a strain for the residents who rely on it daily. Waste disposal isn't a luxury, it's essential infrastructure that keeps our neighborhoods healthy and clean and functioning. If this facility is going to close, which I do support, as delineated in the task force option number 2, I respectfully urge you to ensure practical alternatives that are ready first. Whether that's partnerships with private haulers, expanded bulk pickup, dumpster days, any option that people can have ready to go to have responsible, accessible options for waste disposal. Because growth is exciting, but garbage doesn't just disappear because we're optimistic for the future of Remington. So let's make sure we have a plan in place, shall we? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I appreciate it. Matthew Williams.
Hello again. Thank you guys for taking the time. I really appreciate it. My name is Matthew Williams. I'm a resident of Remington and co-owner of Mount Royal Soap Company. Our business is located a few blocks from the transfer station at 28th and Huntington Avenue. I'm also here speaking on behalf of the businesses in Remington for the Remington Business Association. Businesses like ours grow and succeed based on our relationships with the community and the trust we build with our neighbors. Based on our conversations, a top priority for businesses in Remington is to continue to promote an environment where people can conveniently and safely walk to our doors, especially neighbors in the area. For that reason, we support the full closure of the Sisson Street DPW site. We'd rather have the site redeveloped with the established city and neighborhood plans in mind. That means mixed-use, walkable development designed for leasing to small and local businesses and light manufacturers like us. That also means more housing oriented towards getting around the neighborhood by foot A waste facility down the street simply doesn't work towards creating that environment at all. It harms it. If communities outside Remington value the convenience of a waste facility more than new neighbors, then perhaps they can find a place in their community for it, but no longer in Remington. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I very much appreciate everybody sticking with the timeline as well. Bill Cunningham.
My name is Bill Cunningham, long-term resident of Remington. Started investing in there in January of 2000. Saw the great potential that neighborhood had because I came from Locust Point. We have very similar characteristics in Remington that Locust Point had. One-story antiquated industrial buildings and many, many two-story residentials. So I started developing in Locust Point, and then I came to Remington. And y'all slowing us down. You're slowing our transformation down. It's been going on for years now. It's time to stop playing with this. We can add another $4,000 or $5,000 residents to the properties. The Boy Scout thing should be a 10-story building. All of Sisson Street, which is a lot has been bought up for the future development of 6 to 8 to 10-story buildings. The Brake Shop, which will one day be many, many people living in those properties. 401 West 26th Street, destined to be 150 properties. I live at the corner of 27th and Sisson, so I know how those people are going to feel when those dump trucks come by at 6 o'clock in the morning, rattling past my door, or when the trash falls off of the trucks, or when the people who dump all through the streets, or they leave their trailers for some reason when they come to the dump, they leave their trailers sitting out, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. I agree that no...
30 seconds.
Really, that fast?
Yeah.
Go. Anyway, try this one. Borough of Manhattan, y'all looking the wrong way to do this. 1.7 million people and no transfer stations or dumps. Baltimore County and Anne Arundel County, they take care of their trash and they only have 2 or 3 dumps. Stop looking to be convenient. We're no longer a service center in Remington.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay, Nick Snyder.
Good evening, task force members. Thank you very much for all of your time. I'm Nick Snyder. I'm a Remington resident. In the name of disclosure, I am a member of GRIA's Land Use Committee, but I am here speaking on behalf of my personal experience, personal beliefs, rather than anything involving the Land Use Committee. I live with my family at 29th and Huntington, about 3 blocks away from the current transfer station, so I also know of the convenience argument. I'm speaking tonight in favor of option 2. I would love to close the current transfer station as a direct resident and stakeholder. Again, I know it's convenient. It is a 45-second drive, a 3-minute walk from me, but the convenience isn't everything, and the potential benefits of development and neighborhood growth far outweigh that convenience. The potential plans, as mentioned, involve mixed-income housing, amenities, and the oft-rumored, oft-discussed inclusion of a walkable grocery store for our neighborhood that would be incredibly great for our neighborhood. And these would align with Remington's priorities and be a boon to our neighborhood and our neighborhood's neighbors. I encourage the city to close the transfer station and use any of the windfall to better waste collection for all Baltimoreans. So fixing dumpster days, as mentioned, bring additional funding to the other transfer station services to lift them up. There are many voices from neighboring areas desiring to keep open the dump, but the city should not discount the voice of those who live closest to it and have the most direct impact. It was interesting to see also from some of the presentation that there are a variety of Baltimoreans from all over the city who go to Sisson Street, likely many of those from farther away who are coming to Remington solely for Sisson Street. To those folks, I say I would so much rather you experience all Remington has to offer for a night out, a cup of coffee with friends, a show at Auto Bar, or some fun TBD that could be at a redeveloped Sisson Street, rather than knowing us as the moderately convenient place to bring your stained mattress. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time tonight. Jen McKenzie.
Hi there.
Hey, Jen.
Good evening. Thanks again to all the task force members. Really sincerely appreciate your work and your time on this. My name is Jen McKenzie. Also, for full disclosure, I am a member of staff at the Greater Remington Improvement Association. But here I'm speaking just kind of from my own experience. And I'm here to express my continued support for the closure of the transfer station option 2 as a resident of Remington. For the past nearly 3 years, I've led monthly cleanup efforts in Remington, where every third Saturday, neighbors gather and we pick up trash. Again and again, month after month, we are working to keep up with the illegal dumping that we experience in the neighborhood as a result of people being turned away from this station when they have items that they don't accept, such as hazardous waste on the wrong days, contractor trash, or more than the allowable amount of trash. And these things end up going into Remington's alleys, down on 26 and Miles by the train tracks, and then down by the warehouses in Lower Remington. It has been, in hearing these proceedings and hearing some of the feedback from the public, a little bit frustrating to hear the continued refrain of the convenience of Sisson Street, despite the clear and researched evidence that the task force has that shows that neighbors in Remington would really rather have just about anything else there. To me, closure is the only viable option that prioritizes the needs of the neighbors that are most affected by the current location, and also the hardworking and professional staff who do their very best in what they have called organized chaos to make that place convenient, despite the continued barriers to their safety and comfort that the city doesn't have a plan to solve right now at this location. I am tired of cleaning up the illegal dumping. I'd rather be planting more flowers and trees. I'm tired of the lowest income part of my neighborhood being the one that continues to bear the burden of the city's infrastructural issues. I'm tired of people not paying attention to the actual experiences and desires or the hopes of the people that live right next to the current station. And I want it to be understood that keeping things as they are is not neutral, it's not sustainable, it's not safe. And I think the best plan is to do exactly what option 2 proposes, which is to better resource the other stations that we do currently have on the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Merritt, last name Merritt. I'm sorry, I
pronouncing my first name may be
go ahead.
a little bit difficult. It's Saquon.
Saquon?
Saquon. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much,
yes. Good
Mr.
evening.
Merritt.
Good evening, Task Force. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for all the work that you've done. My name is Saquon Merritt. I am here to speak about my lived experience. I not only represent an electrical contractor now, but I represent a child in the Remington area, as me and my best friend DeAndre, who unfortunately has not been able to make it. He didn't make it to see what it has become today. We ran through the alleys of Huntington, Miles, as a kid getting in trouble, and it wasn't anything like it is today. Kind of going off the cuff, because I want to keep your time limit, but we didn't see development, we didn't see investment, we didn't see possibility, we didn't see what their plans to be coming today. I am speaking in support of closure of the Sisson Street transfer station. And the reason why is because DeAndre would have loved to see opportunity here, right? This area can be more than just housing employment for guys at the local dump. It could be housing for employment for guys to do maintenance and other things and a host of other things in the area, and actually just to enjoy the betterment of the area and how it looks and how it's become. It's beautiful. And, I just think that we need to lean more towards that. I know DeAndre would like it. I know the kids that are growing up here now. And it just gives you, motivation that our city could be so much more. Again, I don't just represent a kid. I represent every crescent of Baltimore. Returning citizen, got into trouble, changed his life, came home, and just would love to see Baltimore continue to thrive. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here tonight. Thomas Anderson.
Good evening.
Hi there.
Thank the task force for all your hard work and dedication. My name is Thomas Anderson, and I am a resident of Baltimore City who work near the Remington area. Professionally, my life is centered around community and personal development. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the closure of the Sisson Street station. For decades, Remington has housed something that most communities would never accept at their front door. For decades, While those other communities have benefited from the dump, Remington has continuously bore the burden of stagnation instead of possibility for growth. To me, this decision is more than about the dump. It's about the future of Baltimore. And I'm not just speaking hyperboles here. Along with the crime and blight, one of Baltimore's biggest challenges is the tax increases due to population loss. Over the past 15 years, Baltimore City has lost 8% of its population, ranking amongst the top 5 major cities in the United States. When residents and businesses leave, tax bases will shrink. When the tax base shrink, the city has fewer resources for school, public safety, and infrastructure. And then we ask for fewer taxpayers to pay more taxes in a city that's built for more people. That cycle is unsustainable. Redevelopment of the Sisson Street corridor will help disrupt that cycle.
30 seconds.
By closing the facility, we pave the way for further development of housing, of businesses, and of jobs. That means more residences, newer property taxes, income taxes, and commercial activity, which ultimately strengthens the city services without raising the taxes on people that's already here struggling to survive. With that said, I say we can't expect Baltimore to grow on one hand and create barriers of that growth on the other hand. A community grows when the actions align with the hopes.
Wrap up.
And Baltimore's desires of progress is we must remove the barriers that exist. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and all of your work. I really appreciate it. Okay, Kevin Lynch.
Hi, my name's Kevin Lynch. I promise to keep this under the 2 minutes for you. I can't really say anything better than some of the people already before me, but I'm in support of option 2 as well. I speak as a small business owner in Remington. I own a small gym there, and it's more than just a gym for us. For us, it's a community of people, and I feel like as we want to expand our mission and reaching out to building relationships and connections, I think that's dependent on some more density in the neighborhood as far as housing and redevelopment of the Sisson Street site. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today. Peter Jackson.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the task force first for just all your attention to this issue. My name is Peter Jackson. I'm a lifelong resident of Baltimore City who currently lives in Bolton Hill. It's a neighborhood that benefits from the convenience of the transfer station's current location. When we're clearing out the basement that 1 or 2 times a year, forget to take our recycling out, it only takes a few minutes to load up and get to Sisson Street. If I have to go to Reisterstown or Bowley's, it would add minutes. As someone who commutes primarily by bicycle, I also have to arrange for a car to get to one of those other locations, which I do anyway because going to the dump isn't really a walkable or bikeable activity. I'm obviously speaking tongue-in-cheek here, but the truth is no one moves to Baltimore City, to Bolton Hill, or to Hamden, etc., because of convenient dumps. What could potentially replace that transfer station, though, whether it be housing or a grocery store or neighborhood retail, that could be the reason someone moves to Baltimore, to Remington. The site sits at the intersection of dynamic neighborhoods, housing, one of the city's most incredible parks, and burgeoning local businesses. A reimagined use of this site could amplify and connect those assets. I support closing this transfer station as expeditiously as possible because we shouldn't ask the residents of Remington to continue to bear the burden of accepting our city's trash, and because we should put neighborhood growth over this convenience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time tonight. Barbara Cates.
One of the great things about this whole process for me has been that I have discovered a new walking route. I'm more of a walker than a bicycler, but bicycle too, maybe. So I can walk from my house right at John Street and Howard down across Howard Street into and onto the Jones Falls, walk past the Jones Falls, walk along the Jones Falls. I have seen those illegal trash dumps that shouldn't be there, and I don't know what the problem is. And then I walk up and up through past Sisson Street, which frankly, I barely notice, and then through Remington, which is a really cool neighborhood. Convenience. The thing about Sisson Street and convenience is not for getting rid of the trash. Because yes, we can go to Bowley's Lane. The few times we've got to get rid of bulk trash, we could go to. The thing is the recycling. That's what needs to be convenient. Because I'm weird, okay? I'm going to hold on to all of my
30
recycling, the rigid plastic, the little scraps of metal, and the compost, all of that. That's what we take to Sisson Street. That's why the convenience of Sisson Street is so important, and that's not going to cut it at Bowley's Lane or Reedburg. So my solution is you draw down everything else, but you keep Sisson Street maybe in a reduced form for
Thank you.
recycling, because that needs to be convenient, because otherwise people are just going to trash it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Jeff Baum.
Good evening, members of the task force and city council. My name is Jeff Baum, and I'm a small business owner and real estate investor in Remington. This coming April will mark the 10-year anniversary of my first real estate investment in Remington on Huntington Avenue. Over the last decade, I've made a conscious choice. Instead of investing in Baltimore County or elsewhere, I chose to double down on Remington. The reason for that choice is simple. I believed in the transformation being led by Seawall and the local business community. We have seen that vision come to life on virtually every street in this neighborhood, except for one glaring exception. When I first saw the design plans for the Sisson Street corridor, I was floored. They were amazing. The vision for that area further solidifies Remington as a premier destination to live, work, play, and visit. However, transforming the parcel currently occupied by the Sisson Street dump is the final critical piece of that puzzle. I'm not an operations expert. I cannot tell you if the best move is to relocate the facility or close it entirely, but I can say without hesitation as a stakeholder that maintaining the status quo is not in the best interest of Remington's residents, business owners, or the city of Baltimore. I don't know if the best use for that land is a grocery store or another creative concept, but I do know that a dump should not be the anchor tenant at the gateway to our community. I am proud to be part of Baltimore's growth. I've seen what happens when we lead with a vision. Thanks to the work of developers like Seawall and the persistence of local entrepreneurs, Remington is a success story. The Department of Planning's mission is to build Baltimore as a diverse, sustainable, and thriving city of neighborhoods. Closing the Sisson Street station directly honors that mission. It removes an industrial barrier and opens a door for the kind of sustainable, community-focused growth that Remington deserves. I urge you to support the closure and help us move the Sisson Street corridor development forward. Thank you for your time and your commitment to the city.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Sharon Guida. You're fine.
I want to thank the task force for having this and doing all the work that you've done. And I want to say that I support leaving the Sisson Street drop-off site where it is currently located and making whatever improvements are necessary and feasible. And why do I say that? In light of all the nice discussions that are going on about Remington redevelopment, which I truly respect and appreciate. And because I think there has to be balanced with the expectation of residents who have been here for 47 years or more in the surrounding neighborhoods that rely on the Sisson Street drop-off. And I like the fact that the task force in Proposal 1, Recommendation 1, has made suggestions for how to improve the situation there so it's not such a drain on the neighborhood. But I think there has to be a balance. We're all for redevelopment of neighborhoods, but the Sisson Street site is dependent upon, is needed by more than just one neighborhood. And it's not just a convenience issue. As one of the last speakers said, it also has to do with recycling and making sure that we get to the zero waste goals. And I think that it needs to stay open, it needs to be improved, and there needs to be budgeting put in so that there
30
is
seconds.
money for the improvements. And we need to reduce the hazardous waste, as you said, and do whatever we can to make it more palatable for the Remington residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Alex Aaron?
Good evening, everyone. Special thank you to the task force for all the thought and time you've put into this. My name is Alex Aaron. I'm a business owner on the other side of 83, just along West North Avenue. And I am in support of closing the Sisson Street drop-off center. I think what we've heard this evening and across the board, people love the city. I think people are ready to reimagine this city. And I've worked in neighborhoods all over Baltimore, and to have city residents and a community association put a plan together probably over a decade ago and re-envision their community with more thoughtful development is incredible. Oftentimes neighbors are not agreeing on what they want to see. So if the residents of this community, business owners are here testifying, I would urge the task force to listen to that. I think there's opportunity to create new housing, to create economic development, to create jobs, and to really transform this site into its highest and best use. So for those reasons, I'm in support of closing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Brad Rogers?
Hello, my name is Brad Rogers, and I am a resident of Mount Washington. Sisson Street is designed to be convenient for people just like me. It's a 10-minute drive, go straight down the highway, and my trash is out of sight and out of mind. But honestly, this should not matter. The people of Remington shouldn't have to sacrifice their hopes and dreams just to save me from driving an extra 10 minutes to deal with normal adult responsibilities. So for that reason, I support Proposal 3. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alan Cohen?
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here, and let me just get to where I need to be. Sorry about that. Yeah, hi. My name is Alan Cohen, and I appreciate the chance to provide input to the task force and city. I live in Hamden, and I'm represented by Odette Ramos on the city council and here. I've lived in Baltimore City since 2011, and I love it. The people, the history, the natural environment, and the Orioles. I'm passionate about the environment and protecting it since my youth, when I set up a recycling station in the apartment building where I grew up in the Bronx. And I've been active in a number of efforts over the years to protect the environment. For that reason, I'm still very concerned about the possibility of relocating Sisson Street to Falls Road. Even though it's wonderful that the task force got lost in where I am here. Sorry. Okay.
That's all right.
Okay. I'm very pleased that the task force has recommended against still considering Falls Road as an option. But I'm also very concerned that Mayor Scott and the city may still choose a site based on a number of things I've heard. As for my specific concerns, the top is that Falls Road doesn't fit the original criteria because of its being in a floodplain. And because of this and the significant danger to the river and the area it represents, Falls Road shouldn't even be on the table as a possible site, including by Mayor Scott. At the least, I believe the city must actively, and I do believe from what I've heard that Sisson Street should be closed. At the least, I believe the city must actively consider other sites, and that staff's preference at Sisson Street should be strongly considered. They've indicated they want to move to 25th Street, which
30
Seawall
seconds.
already owns. Again, I strongly urge that the city not relocate the Sisson Street facility to Falls Road. And in case this matters, my votes in future elections will be influenced by this decision. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Rabbi Berg?
Good evening, everyone. Rabbi Daniel Berg. I'm the senior rabbi of Beth Am Synagogue. I'm also a resident and homeowner in Reservoir Hill on Utah Place. I'm in favor of Proposal 2, Option 2, closing the Sisson Street transfer station. I actually love the dump. I use it frequently. It's convenient for me. And also, I don't mind driving a little further to bring my things when I need to. At Beth Am and in our community, we really stand for softening boundaries and encounter across difference. We spent 9 months worshiping at Mount Lebanon Baptist Church in the greater Madamman area. We're interested in better connectivity to our east as well. And the Sisson Street transfer station is not the highest and best use of that corridor. I'd love to see development there. I'd also love to see better continuity between Reservoir Hill and our neighborhoods to the east. I'd also really like to see a light rail station. I want to just reinforce that that the dumpster days are really helpful for our community. And if more of those can be scheduled, and also not only on Shabbat morning when we're in services, that would be helpful to those of us who use them. If there is a way to also expand residential dumping to the northwest transfer station, that's 12 minutes from my neighborhood. It's convenient to West Baltimore and Northwest Baltimore. I think that could be helpful for people as well. But I support closing the transfer station at Sisson Street. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here today. Jan Danforth?
Thanks, everybody. It's been interesting. Appreciate all of you. I'd like to start with bullet points because I can't go into detail. I can write in later everything that I've been observing. I'll start from the beginning when this was introduced on August 11th. Bill number 250094. And I discovered after that introduction in the park that the city had already been negotiating the lease for Sisson on the Potts and Callahan property 6 to 7 months before that bill was introduced. There were 2 RFPs, just for your information. There were 2 RFPs, and they were not dismissed from BDC. It's because they already have a bidder, but they didn't reveal who. Everybody knows who. So another bullet point. The description of the bill, real quick, I'm going to skip everything except this part where really are no longer needed for public use. Sisson Street is no longer needed for public use.
30 seconds.
100 to 200 cars a day, 300 on Saturdays, easily. It's going to be hard to do everything else. I was looking around, I heard Representative Torrance mention to me in passing at City Hall that everything has already been sold. And I looked up on the maps that it's indicated that Sisson is already sold.
It's not.
You can tell me that. Why would the map say it? He said they don't appear on, the
Thank you.
indication doesn't
Thank you.
appear on the maps unless it's sometimes 3 months after it's been settled.
Thanks, Jan. I really appreciate you being here and being so involved in this process. We have, we
Matthew
need to,
Garbark also signed off on this back in October.
we need to
Before
wrap
the-
up.
before the-
We're at time.
Jan,
Would
I
you-
definitely value your dedication to this process. So if you could send in your thoughts, that would be great.
Answer me this. You said that Potts and Callahan had already been sold or was being.
This
all
isn't
of it's
We don't know
fair.
that.
This isn't fair to the other people that wish to
We don't know
testify.
that.
We need to move on to the
Yep.
next
I
person.
think it's not fair that people
who's
aren't
the next
aware of
person on the
certain
list?
things.
Okay,
Jan,
so we've
thank
got
you so
one more
much.
person, and then we're going to
Thank
open
you.
it up in case there's anybody else that wants to testify. Deputy Mayor, did you want to testify? No, okay. Okay, is there anybody else that did not sign up that would like to speak? Sir, did you already speak?
I did not know.
Okay,
I
come on
signed
up.
on the list, but perhaps it was illegible. I apologize for that.
My fault, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. What's your name?
My name is Khalil Ukhta. I am a residential developer
Oh,
and
I got you right here. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
educator in Baltimore City. Yes, thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Task Force, and others who have committed to these very important, well-researched, and thoughtful conversations. Again, my name is Khalil Ukhta, real estate educator and developer in Baltimore City. I'll keep this brief. It seems like option one presented does not seem feasible for many reasons, including we do not have a budget for it. Option three does not seem feasible because none of the proposed sites seem to work within the important constraints and boundaries. So we are in favor of option two, the eventual closing of Sisson Street Station after certain metrics are met. Thank you for your commitment to the city.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the room that did not sign up that would like to testify? Okay, I really appreciate everybody who has dedicated time to being here tonight and to letting us know your thoughts. The task force will meet, right now we're scheduled to meet next Monday. Are you all still okay with this? No.
I can do virtual only.
Okay.
I prefer if everything was virtual, like hybrids.
Yeah, we'll figure that. But we're going to have another meeting to have a full discussion, a debrief of this session as well. I know what you're going to ask. So if there's any member of the public that wanted to send in further thoughts, please do so by this Friday. And that way we can take all of this into consideration. The email address for the Sisson, I believe it's sissonstreet@baltimorecity.gov. Yes, Councilman.
I have a request. One, to have DPW and DOT review the truck routes to see if we did close Sisson Street, where would be the logical routes that they would take the refuge to Rebird and others, just to make sure that if we're going to do a full analysis, I do agree with one of the testimony that we should evaluate it and seeing how that impacts with the truck route. Sorry to add more work to you guys, but I think that is something that will help me with my decision too.
So I would like to ask a clarifying question of you, Councilman. When you say truck routes, are you talking about the residents who are taking material to Sisson? Which trucks are we speaking of, sir?
So I'm more so related to our actual trucks, right? And how it's, so two parts. One is our actual, how this will impact the optimization of our routes for actually doing refuse collection as well as recycling collection if we do choose to use Rebird as a transfer station.
So if I can clarify, sir, we don't actually take any refuse from.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, we don't take any residential collection to.
No, I'm talking about our. No,
I mean, no city trucks are taking
Okay.
anything to Sisson Street. We are collecting from Sisson using the roll-offs that are already there, but we're not taking anything there.
Okay, that's good, but I'm just meaning that when we take it from that place, how do we get it to the other places? So I just want to make sure we evaluate what neighborhoods we typically would take it through.
Okay, I can talk to you about that. Yeah, I can pull that data and talk about how we when we take the roll-offs from there, from the material that we're receiving
Yes.
from the residents, which neighborhoods they're taking to get to Quarantine Road landfill, or perhaps Bresco if we're.
My understanding is that everything that goes to Sisson that's waste, it goes to Bresco, and that the recycling goes to a facility in Elkridge to be processed. And so I think those are already. I think what the councilman is asking is we're going to, if in Reedbird and Boley's, the frequency is going to be more. Is that kind of where you're going?
No, more so what we were discussing
Okay.
with the roll-offs, because if we're adding more roll-offs for do neighborhood cleanups, all those things have to take into account that we're going to be using truck routes to move those things because there's certain tonnage that's going to be there. So, and there's only certain streets that can actually take it.
Oh, so for the dumpster days, that's all headquartered at Sisson, and so if we move it,
That's what I'm trying
that's
to
where
allude to.
you're going. Okay, great. Yep.
But my clarifying question, but if it closes, then there won't be any.
Well, but I think the question is, what is going to be the impact at Reedbird and Boley's? Like, we don't know yet who's going to take which site is going to take the drop off part.
Right, if our current drop-off in dumpster days is serviced by Sisson, what is the new path of the dumpster days and drop-offs with the new, if Sisson didn't exist? Like hypothetical, Sisson doesn't exist, anything that uses Sisson that's not resident, because we all know residential trash doesn't go there, residential pickup, but it's that path to see how it's affected.
I actually think that. I think this is a good discussion. If there's any other information that task force members would like to have, we can obviously have this afterwards too, that you can send it along. Because I think our next meeting, we want to have a much more in-depth discussion about what we heard tonight, but also any other nuances that are not in the paper so far, because there may be some. And also, what our next steps will be. So, yes.
I just want to build out a little bit more the benefits district
Yeah.
paragraph as well.
Mhm.
So, we put a little placeholder there, but I think that building out where that might be and what impact that might have on those benefits districts' operations and their financial.
Yes, I actually just learned that it's an actual insurance issue as well with the benefits districts as to how far they can go outside of their,
the
like
district.
with the, yeah. So.
So I
that's
think we just need to
something
think about
about.
that and have some thoughts on it prior to finalizing the document.
Yep, absolutely. I want to thank task force members for being here and for all the work that you've done so far. I want to thank members of the public for being here this evening and for your dedication to this issue. We're going to adjourn. I don't have a thingy there.